Welcome to our workshop on the 23rd of July. Again, I welcome all of you, even though we lost some people. And we still have the same media people back there. Thank you all for hanging in there with us. And the city clerk did such a grand job in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask her to do it again.
Oh, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, thank you all. We don't need to sign in during the workshop. For those of you who don't know, we can't take any votes. This is for educational purposes only. And so there's no reason to sign in on a machine that's broken down anyway. But we do have a quorum because we have 3 people here and 2 people absent. Anybody have any objections to the agenda for this evening? Any objections? And it's passed unanimously. And we'll move on to any call from the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment on tonight's agenda? Anybody from the public? I don't see anybody standing up, so I guess we have no public input. We will go on to 6A, which is the budget workshop. And Madam Clerk, you're on.
Once again, I sent everybody, department heads, everybody an email. Our main topics of discussion tonight are the request, personnel, equipment. Obviously, we need new equipment for the microphones, or we do now. So I guess the question, what we're going to cover in your budget workbooks, we're going to cover section C and section H. So we're going to start with section C, which is the general fund requests. And the easiest way, I think, to do this is if anybody has any, and I've warned the department heads ahead of time, if there is any questions from anyone about any of the positions, about what the changes are, and if you want any answers.
So what are we looking at right now?
We're looking at the personnel request in the
Personnel
general
request.
funds.
Yeah. Comments, questions? We're looking at department head personnel request. Go ahead, Mr. Cox.
Yes, can we have some input on planning and zoning on the new position proposed?
It will be at a level 17, grade 1, and their responsibilities. As you know, we're the only department without any admin service help. So they will be sort of dual structured. They will be an admin assistant as needed, and they're going to also assist the archivalist. We are really running through our archive, and we have really made leaps and bounds with it, but there are tons of it left to be done. So we're looking for a person that can help us with the administrative duties and also be able to bounce over and do the archival also.
Ms. Faircloth, you're on.
Under police services, one new commander position. I'd like to ask the deputy chief question.
Go ahead.
Is this in addition to the position you just vacated?
Yes, sir, it is. Currently, we have 2 commander positions. One is over operations and one's over operations support. Right now, the operations commander is also doing operations, which is the full patrol division and all the administrative duties. So I'm seeking to get one to split the one operations commander into two, so they all has equal task.
Okay, there would not be a commander position at CID?
Yes, sir, there'll be, CID falls under the operations
Okay.
support, and then operations is the patrol division only, but as it is now, that operations commander is also having to do everything administrative, accreditation, and stuff like that.
Okay.
I'd like to mention something that, the reason that commander position is open, that I promoted Commander Grant to deputy chief to open that position up. He will still be carrying on interim police chief duties during this time period. But I wanted to, we needed to get somebody else in that commander position. He couldn't do both of them. It's too much.
But, Mr. Mayor, that's not the second position, this is the third position. So moving him up, you're still gonna have, instead of have one and two, you're gonna have three. So it is adding another position.
I understand. Sorry about that. I was on off something else.
Okay. Any other comments, questions before I leave him? All right, my turn. I'll start with the police because I met with, with the deputy this afternoon. Same question you all had about the third commander position. And I got a chart that shows the responsibilities on it. And I think the thing that probably makes it worthwhile is that currently we have 5 sergeant positions in there. And one of those sergeant positions will move up to the commander position. So you're gonna you'll have 4 sergeant positions left, and that other sergeant will be moving to the commander position. So you're creating a new position, but you're really not creating a new body, a slight increase in the pay. But based on the responsibilities, I think the change from sergeant to commander is probably gonna be justified. And we went through all the different numbers on there. One thing I would like to correct though on the deputy, if you would, well, I'm sorry, we're in personnel still. I won't talk about your police car yet. But anyway, that's my spin on that. It's not really the big position looks like, is we're moving a sergeant up.
Right.
And in fact, where it looks like we're losing someone, we're really not losing those. Those are positions that are changing.
Right.
Where it says elimination of 3 patrols. And right now, we're down to 31, and when Officer Newcomb comes back, we'll be back up to 32. And that's pretty much where we need to be. On the planning and zoning, I understand the archiving. It just seems to me like every year it's the same thing. We have to have more people archive. Are we really making any progress in this?
We only have one person that's archived.
Well, but last year we authorized you a position that was gonna do that,
Yes, and she's working very diligently.
all right? And we gave you what you told us you needed, and now you're saying you need somebody else to do that
Well,
position.
that's the reason we're splitting their responsibility. Growth management is the planning and zoning. We don't have an administrative executive.
Well, you gave that up yourself, though.
Yeah, we gave that
Yes,
up
you
in
did.
order to secure, another position, and it was also, according to the minutes of the meeting, we said we were gonna be back in front of you asking for an administrator, position. We couldn't very well, ask for it again since, the present position was being filled by, Vicki Young, who
Mhm.
was out. So, since that has all transpired, we are back in front of you asking for an administrative position. This administrative position will fill our administrative needs, but we're also going to, require that they be of a higher level of training so that they can indeed, accompany us with any of our archival,
So that would account for the differential in pay than you normally have from an admin.
well, from admin, yes, sir.
Yeah.
We need a trained person there that can create databases that can, create our Excel access, files. We need somebody that would have a higher degree of technical experience that your typical administrative clerk would not have.
Okay. Let's move on to the next one though, because it's under personnel. I don't understand the request for a 3% increase in planning and zoning, code enforcement. Everybody else is getting 3%. We're not even giving a higher percent to our police and our fire. But you want 6% is what I'm reading, for planning and zoning and for code enforcement. Am I reading that
Well,
correctly?
if we had, tonight we were going to present the growth managed standardization, of the department, where, we're going to roll into our own, checks and balances, our own requirements, for personnel through testing, through, education, achievements and goals. To say that they're gonna automatically be given this, no, sir, they won't automatically be given a 3%, increase. What they're going to do is strive through the year in order to achieve that.
But isn't that what we wanted the whole city to do, starting this year for the next year? We came up with the new personnel evaluation records to prepare us to go into an increase based on your ability or your performance. And
Yes, sir, and we've been striving to do that for several years. What we're doing is actually putting it in action.
Right, but what I'm saying, you're out of step with the rest of the city. We decided we're gonna have the new evaluation and move into the process, and you're saying, in your department, you wanna do it separately this year with another 3% increase.
As we were told that, it was not anyway guaranteed that there would be a 3% increase.
What do you mean, for the whole city?
Right.
Well, that's true. We haven't voted on that yet, but this says, well, the way I read it, is at 3% on top of the 3% the city's already given, for a total of 6% this year. I don't support that.
No, well, actually, it is 3% being governed by them earning the 3%.
I understand that,
So, but
but,
that doesn't, if you're simply going to, award them another, 3% at the beginning of the year, then we would have to postpone our enactment of our checks and balances and testing schematic, for another year,
to be in line with the rest of the
to be
city.
in line.
Yeah, I have no problem with that, because right now, the 3% we voted on is for the whole city.
Right.
So if you ask for this in addition to that, you're asking for 6% just for your departments, and
No, we're
I
asking
don't
for-
support that.
We're asking for a 3% increase.
On top of the 3% that the whole city's gonna get.
No, sir. No,
That's
sir.
in our budget. What the city clerk has presented to, let me finish. What the city clerk has presented to us as a budget, it has the option of a 3% increase in it. And so, for the increase. So if you are putting this in your budget 3% in each one of these, that's on top of that 3%. For a total of 6%.
Well, when we discussed it, what we were discussing with the clerk was that we wanted to establish a 3% guideline for our department. Now, that is because we were told we probably wouldn't receive an automatic 3%. Or.
Well,
an
that's good
increase.
advice.
Now, if it-
Nobody
if
should
it's
get,
something-
nobody should get an automatic 3%.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We wanted to put in place something that our department could follow as a guideline. That yes, if you adhere to, the testing and fulfill the requirements, that yes, there will be a 3% increase over the course of the year.
Was-
Provided that there is not a 3% raise to the general population.
Okay, but that's not what this says. This doesn't say 3% increase in case we don't vote one citywide. This is
I
on
didn't
top of the
write
3,
this.
excuse me?
I didn't write this. I simply verbalized it to the city clerk as to what I needed.
Madam Clerk, is that what you understood?
I understood that they were requesting a 3% on top of whatever the city was getting.
That's what this says to me.
Because
But
it wasn't in the original, if y'all remember, when I sent out the original spreadsheets, that 3% raise was not on there. But it was discussed as an overall anniversary date raise. And when I sent out information last week requesting any updates before I sent it out to you guys, I got an email back saying we want our 3%. So that's what I did, assuming that it was above, because we'd already discussed either a 3% on an anniversary date or a 1% and 2% on an anniversary date. That had already been discussed.
All right, I'd like opinion of my fellow councilman. Did you understand what I did, or am I just, you did? So, yes, Mr. Cox, go ahead.
Yes, I generally have the same feeling that you expressed and concerns on that. And because it looks like, kind of like having your cake and eating it too. It's not, the way this is presented, it looks like that could be a potential raise on top of a raise. And when you look at the proposed new position at a significant salary, with potential increases right on top of that, I think we need to take a look at that.
But you have to remember, on your new position, that's salary plus benefits, not just salary. 56,000 includes
Oh.
everything that we'll have to pay. That's
Okay, I'm
benefits also.
sorry, that is not
Yeah.
defined.
Yeah, that's,
in this.
anytime you see, under personnel, anytime you see a cost increase, that includes everything, benefits, health insurance, everything. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
because that's what I have to do for budget.
All right, if I can move on to, let's see, I'll come back to you in just a minute, Teresa. I'll give you a break. Mr. Steele, could you explain the need for a civil engineer tech, new position? I know that we're losing a civil engineer the 1st of August. Is this, I'm guessing it's not a replacement, this is someone that's going to supplement the incoming civil engineer?
Well, actually, last year, it was presented to me, might have been 2 years ago, by the city engineer. He was requesting a tech, and what he's been doing, he had been asking help and getting help from some of the others in other departments whenever he was faced with certain challenges and trying to produce plans and things like that, or cover whenever he was out on vacation or sick or things like that. So I wished, now in hindsight, that I would have pursued that position for him last year or the year before, because now here I am in a position where we have our engineer come and said on the 1st of this month he was retiring at the end of the month, and we don't have an engineer or a tech, and it's up to me now for him to show me all of his computer files, all of his storage files, everything. I have to learn all of this in this month so that I'll have access to it and know where to go and find these things. Had we had this tech in place, because he don't have a secretary, he don't have any administrative help whatsoever other than me, really. And had we had that in place, it would have been a lifesaver now. Here we are, and we haven't gotten one application for this position after 4 weeks of advertising. And we're finding out that we're way below what the normal pay grade is for, most engineers are getting 100,000 plus a year, and we're paying Mr. Cook, 60 something. I'll just say it like that.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Steele, the salary, I'm assuming tech has to have some kind of expertise. Is that split between general and utility fund? So that's really half the salary?
That's correct, because we found out that we couldn't even get an engineer tech or
I'm
EIT.
saying they have to have certain qualifications.
Yes, absolutely. We couldn't get one for what we first had it in the budget for, and we realized that, and we adjusted. I went and spoke with Ms. Roy, and we adjusted that last week.
Okay. No bites on the civil engineer, though. That's
No, if
And it is
anyone hears, because
On the
we,
city website and Career Source and.
because we, and to explain what kind of problem this creates real quick, and I think you already know, is if we use one of our contracted firms to do this, they at a minimum, we receive the task orders now. One of them is $125 an hour, and the other one is closer to $200 an hour. So that's just to review plans and do whatever engineering is required for us at the moment until we can hire someone. So we've been really getting a bargain for our engineering services for the last 10 years.
All right, thank you. Let's see, I think, back to you, Ms. Galen, on the building and permitting. A lot of increases listed there. One, I guess, changing positions, and I understand that, but a thing that kind of intrigues me is that you've asked for these increase in money with the caveat that if we don't give you the money, if we don't give you the position changes, you still want the money.
Yeah, the
I've never
standardization-
seen a bargain like that.
It's the standardization. That's something else that y'all would have been presented tonight, but since we cleared our workshop, we'll be at you the first weekend.
But I think you're missing my point. I mean, but if for some, no, let me finish. I think you're missing my point. Because regardless of standardization, whatever you want to call it, what you're saying here, if we disagreed with you, we don't think you need to standardize a department like that, you're saying, okay, but give me the money anyway. Even if I can't increase these steps, that doesn't register with me.
The city of Crestview is out of compliance with all its surrounding municipalities and county as far as the wage limits that your people are being paid at that particular level of expertise. Standardization will tie those increases to specific education levels, state tests, all that. That's the standardization of it. However, if you look at the wages that are being paid for the individuals with the standing education that our inspectors and officials possess at this time, they are severely underpaid with what they do. And one of the ways you know that is because of we have the same standardized fees for the conflicts, errors, citations. And right now, and as you know, the building department supports itself. It takes no ad valorem tax. It supports itself on its fees and its assessments there. They have actually met their budget needs for this particular year, and they're only 3/4 of the way through their year. And what that tells you when you evaluate the personnel with the surrounding attributes of the area, and the fees are the same, and the qualifications and requirements demanded from the personnel are the same, our wages are much lower. And
Okay.
that's the
All right.
reason that,
Let me interrupt you, because I think you're still missing my point. If for some reason we disagree with your standardization, which would result in all this money, and so we say we're not gonna support that, but you're saying, well, you're not gonna support it, give me the money anyway, what are you gonna do with that money? You're gonna give them raises in spite of the fact that we don't support this?
No, the standardization is just testing facilities. It's the mandate of testing requirements for.
But you said this is you're saying this is in line with the standardization, and you want us to approve it. But if we didn't,
No, sir, you can approve the standardization, and that's at a controlled increment as to what type money would be fed in there. They need to, in order to bring their salaries up to be compatible with their surrounding neighbors, it's going to require that amount of money to bring their salaries into compliance.
whether we agreed with it or not.
Well, if you don't agree with the salary, part of it, then you need to look at whether or not you want them to have standardized testing. There's two different elements there. Yes, both of them contain money, but they're two different elements. Either you get them on a standardized, wage and incentivized, program, or as they are now, they're just simply running along with whatever mandatory, classes that they have to have and license that they must possess.
All right, I'd like to turn it over and see if anybody else has questions besides me.
Well,
Mark,
yes,
am I
I do.
missing something?
I'm just thinking that, why should we do this for one department, not all of them? I'm sure the, police department is understaffed and underwaged.
Gentlemen, this department is your only division that is self-sufficient. They earn the money that's in their budget.
Is that money paying for the car?
Yes. It pays for all, that's all it can be spent on. It can only be spent on the elements and the personnel of the building division.
So that
That's all it
includes,
can be.
that includes employee salaries and
Employee
insurance?
salaries, yes, sir.
Insurance and all that?
Insurance, all that belongs to the budget that is earned by the building, department.
If they were truly self-sufficient, why would you need any money from the general fund?
They don't do general money from the general fund.
It's just they're
This is
separate.
your
Their
this is your
separate
internal-
line
account is
This
in
is your
the
internal
general fund.
account. This is internal budget just for them.
Yes, sir.
They're a line item on the budget. They're included with the general fund, but they have their own. And then the excess monies at the end of the year go into an escrow fund, which at this point is $572,000.
Okay. I guess a little confusing because it says general fund at the top.
Well, it is because they're under the general fund. They're not an enterprise fund. They are a part of the general fund.
Right.
It's just held in an account. And the only thing I will say, in regards to what Mr. Faircloth just said, if you went through the whole city compared to Okaloosa County is underpaid. That's, I mean, and I understand they have standardization and everything else, but you have permit clerks and you have billing clerks that do about the same amount of work, but we can't afford a $14,000 raise for a building clerk. But that's,
Go
and the
ahead.
building department does make money.
Go ahead, Ms. Kelly.
Your permitting technicians must know the ins and outs of the city code. They must also know ins and outs of the limitation of the building code.
That's their job.
So
Yeah.
it's their job, which is quite different from other clerks in the city.
Okay, all right, thank you. Just one other thing, and that was back to Deputy Grant, and that was, we discovered an error when you and I met today on the second page. We had one unmarked vehicle for $69,000, and that's really two vehicles, is it not?
It's
Yes.
actually two, it's two
Okay.
vehicles. They had three and they took it down to
Oh,
two.
so that's a pretty nice vehicle with $69,000.
Yeah, yeah, mine said three, but it should be two.
That's two and two.
Two unmarked vehicles for $69,000.
Now, is that just the personnel? Are we in equipment yet, or are we still in personnel?
I mean, are we leaving personnel except for the extra
So,
3%?
These gentlemen are done, I'm done.
What about, am I leaving building and permitting the way it is?
What's your question? I'm sorry.
Are we making any other changes? There seemed to be a consensus about the extra 3% for planning and for code. What about anything else? Is there anything else that we're gonna remove? Are we gonna leave building the way it is?
Yeah, considering where the money's coming from, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
The problem I had was, if for some reason we didn't approve of this, we're gonna give the money anyway. I don't like
Okay.
that. I don't like that statement.
Okay.
We're like, we owe you money. If we're not gonna give you what you want, we're still gonna give you money someplace else. So we remove that statement. That's what it says. If this does not pass, equal number of dollars increase is requested.
That was in lieu of putting in a 3% increase.
That's not what it said. It's underneath building and permitting.
Mhm.
So you're saying it doesn't apply to building and permitting?
It does apply to building and permitting, but that's, if they were to receive this amount of money, even without their standardization forms of it, that we would not expect them a 3% increase.
I'm
This
sorry.
was, whenever we first discussed this was way before, they even talked about.
I understand that,
having
but
3%
that's,
there.
excuse me, that's not what it says. If it, meaning above, building permit, it does not pass, equal dollar increase is requested. So if we didn't approve the $32,559.17 that you requested for building permitting, and we didn't approve those position changes, then you wanted $32,559.17. And I'm saying, take that statement out and I'll be a happy camper.
Okay. Well, that's just nothing more than saying that that's what that was.
All right, it's gone. Okay.
Now we're in
Any
general
other
fund equipment.
Any other personnel questions? No, go ahead.
No, not personnel.
Okay, good.
Ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on. Oh, we're into
Yeah.
equipment now, sorry.
Yep, we're in equipment now.
Equipment request for general fund.
And that's why I want to have on the car.
Huh?
I got
That's
to
why I
have
only
myself
had
on the car.
two cars. Two cars. Yeah, it was three, now it's two. It was like
Okay, gentlemen, questions or comments on the equipment special request out of the general fund? Mr. Cox, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, one, you answered the question on the police services on the unmarked vehicles. Now, over to, actually, this is listed under utility fund, but,
We're not there yet.
well,
Hold that question.
okay,
Let's go ahead and stay with general. We'll be there.
all right, I'll hold
Hold
that.
Bear
that
with
question.
us.
Hold that
I'll
question.
hold that one.
No questions on general then?
I'm good.
Ms. Fairclough, go ahead.
Lost my spot.
We're in the general fund equipment special request.
It was, well, it was about the AEDs. Here it is. $3,800. That's pretty cheap, isn't it? Or
We
is
got
that-
those for about $1,200 a piece.
Well, how many you getting?
It's an ongoing replacement, right, every year you do 3 or 4?
Yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, we do them on a replacement schedule.
Well, what I would like to see minimum, how many zones or whatever you call them do you cover all over the city?
The city's divided into 4 zones,
4 zones, and how many officers per zone?
1 per zone. Sometimes you have a couple extra units out with this K-9 or something like that, you'll have extra.
I would like us to get to the point with AEDs where we had 1 in each zone,
That's
24/7.
the goal.
I have a question. Could somebody explain what an AED is? Those of us who just look at the money.
Defibrillator, automatic defibrillator.
Thank you. Thank you.
Save people like me have a heart attack or something.
Okay, that's just, because somebody will ask.
Go ahead, Mr. Cox.
Yes, just a question for a little more information on city clerk. New cameras in buildings, 15,000.
That's all city buildings. So we have more security in the buildings, not in
Is
City
it
Hall.
upgrade,
Oh,
product
well, some of the
change, or?
buildings don't even have cameras, so yeah. Yeah, this is to get us, what the cameras that we have now in City Hall are like still cameras, and they capture, if you're really lucky, they capture people walking down the hallway. But to retrieve it is a nightmare. They're very old. They're not available remotely. You can only look at them if you're in the building. So there's not an alert system for anything happening that we could put, dispatch have it on their things, like, whoop, somebody's in City Hall at midnight, they're not supposed to be, that kind of stuff, so.
Are you looking at cloud storage for it?
I mean,
Any other
cameras are
questions?
pretty, 'cause the ones I have, they're really pretty, cameras themselves are pretty inexpensive. It's just the cloud service can cost you, but expanding and getting us more, I mean, we need more security everywhere, unfortunately, in this day and age. And there's several areas, even in City Hall, that aren't even covered by cameras, so if somebody came into certain areas that we wouldn't know. And parking lot. This also includes parking lot cameras.
Any other questions before I leap in? All right, I'm leaping. Teresa, the I-plan tables, I'm pretty technical, but I sure don't know what an I-plan table is, but it just seems to me, we want one in zoning, planning and zoning, one in building permitting, and, well, two in planning and permitting. One, I'm assuming, one's bigger than the other, 12,300, 8,500 for the other two. Is there any way that one of those $8,500 ones could be shared? Instead of buying three, we could buy with two?
Keep in mind, this is what you view the Superior attributes on in the plans. See, you'll no longer have printed plans. You're going to be utilizing, this is a table.
We
It's actually
we haven't approved that yet, have we?
No, we haven't, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying, but we have to include it in case you do. The plans table is actually a visual table. We have gone to PDF, plans now. And it's a visual table, it's like a huge screen, and what you're doing is actually, you're deciphering the plans themselves without having, stacks and stacks and reams of paper plans everywhere.
Capiche.
And-
But again,
that's-
two people couldn't share one of them, $8,500 one?
Well, they're gonna be set up in two particular different
Yeah,
areas.
in the same building.
Well, if you wanna deny one for the building and permitting and just simply utilize the larger
I'm just
one.
asking. I'm
It's,
asking.
it's very difficult to get more than two people around looking at it, or if you're working on it with your project, and you have to wait in line till you work on it with another project. It's sort of like think of it as a gigantic monitor.
A gigantic, expensive monitor. $12,300.
That was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you got the floor, go ahead.
Well, that was a question I had. Why is one 46 inches sufficient, but then you need one 55 inch?
We'd have to ask the building official why he was wanting a larger one, other than the complexity of what's being viewed on the screen.
Well, if he just needs what's on the screen larger, we could just buy him some glasses and it'd be cheaper.
Zoom in like
Mr.
on-
President,
Yeah.
if I could just add something just to kind of help Teresa out, I actually.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I actually looked at this because my fire inspector actually had hit me up whenever he had found it out as well, because we are starting to get plans electronically. I ended up going out and buying him just one of the bigger TV screens. When I did the research on this, that price not only is the screen, but it's the computer all in itself. It comes completely self-sufficient, it's all touchscreen. He'd be able to do all of his plans there, touch it, make his notes, do whatever he needs to do, and then submit that email to the contractor for corrections and everything else. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I actually was looking at trying to possibly get him one later down the line.
It's to form the system that you're going to use in order to facilitate what you're trying to do with the new Superior product.
Will it speed up getting permits?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm for it.
This is where the speed up comes. And
Mr.
also alleviates archival of paper plans.
Mr. Cox, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, correct me if I misspeak, but this is equipment on the iTables, of which there's 3, for a total of $29,300 equipment. And the Superior system itself was presented as
In the neighborhood of about,
340K?
Yeah.
Okay, plus a 82K annual license.
yeah.
So none of those kind of numbers, we don't have those available looking in any charts here. So, but you have the equipment associated with it in here.
Because we can utilize these tables, with, if we don't decide to go with the Superion, we can utilize these sort of makeshift with our own PDF formats. It will not be the efficiency that Superion could give us, but it will help alleviate, paper plans.
Okay, and I would still question also that other council members have stated, is there really a need for 3 separate new tables?
Well, you will have 2 reviewers of plans in the building and permitting. You have 2 separate, plans review people there. And, then in the planning and zoning, that will be one table that will be shared among, 3 different people. The Superior people will be here, at the next meeting in order to go over your documentation.
I guess my question would be that, I don't like the fact it could be a backup system if we don't get Superior, and so, I would advise that you don't go out and buy these until we make a decision on Superior.
You
No,
can't
sir.
till 10/1
These-
anyway.
This is next year's budget, so it's nothing that you want, it's nothing that you would purchase now unless you were,
Well, but if we approve it in your budget, you ostensibly could do that. I'm saying I advise you wouldn't do that until we decide what we're gonna do with Superior.
no, sir, it would be just, we'll wait and see how Superior
It'd
goes.
be after
Because
October.
Superior will not be instantaneous.
Well, I know, it's gonna
It
be
will take a-
gradual phase-in.
No, sir, it will take, months to build. It will be tailor-built for what we need.
And
If we approve it, yeah.
these are not these tables are not coming out of the general fund either, are they?
2 of them, one of them.
2
is.
of them are.
one
I'm
of
sorry, one of them will
One-
come
one
out of
is and
general
two.
fund. Your 20,800 will come out of building and permitting money.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right, Madam Clerk, I think we can move on. Wherever you're leading us here.
We have improvement requests, and basically what's in that is just from basic replacements, information that's going on, some facility maintenance that is necessary in the areas of, and the total cost is $151,000 for.
What page are you
I'm
on?
on, improvement requests.
What page is that, please? Because I'm in C and I don't see.
Section.
It's in C, it's in your public, it's in your general fund requests.
Okay.
There, just pass it.
Oh, okay.
Is it under general fund?
Yeah, it's under general fund, it's right after your
Public
equipment
services.
request. Just keep going. It says public services, just ignore that because for some reason that carried forward. There's not that much on here.
No, but I do remember I did have a question with, for Mrs. Steele. I think you answered it, but just in case you didn't. On the Whitehurst Lane, is there really gonna be a sidewalk involved in that? Because that's a TPO priority, and I
This-
don't wanna do the same thing.
No, the sidewalk, it's in the plans, but what we talked about is the primary, most of this funding that's being requested is for the extension of that center lane, that's the majority of the money's going to that. Sidewalks in the plans, so we put it on here,
Does that
Yes.
would that 97K cover the sidewalk?
yes.
Would it? The only reason I say that, because that project has been in TPO priority when I joined in 2015, it was the 11th year, and it's down to priority number 2. It used to be priority 1, now it's priority 2.
Yeah.
And I just don't see it happening. coming out of the TPO anyway.
I don't either, and we're getting so many complaints. We've promised people
That's our
that we'd
kids.
put it in the budget, and
Yeah.
so,
Those are our kids.
yeah, that's right.
Mr. Cox, you have a comment?
Yes, one of the problems on the Whitehurst Lane project with the TPO, which a couple years ago, yeah, it got up to, it was at the top of the list, and then a Destin project leapfrogged ahead of it, and that's being done, and now a second project. But the design of that section of 85 and proposed interchange itself that has a lot to do with why that isn't really coming to fruition right now.
Well, this design here is primarily to make it a safe passage for kids from P.J. Adams to the school, and that's our focus. And so,
Not any other questions, comments on that page? All right, moving right along.
All right, your carry forward projects are pretty much set. These are projects that, at least in the general fund, items that we've already been approved, that were the truck lease, the Police Services Sun Guard, and the report writer programs. We do have a sports complex reserve that we have in here, and the streets resurfacing, that's part of the 3% tax cut. That's money that wasn't spent, or may be spent by the end of this year. That number may go down as we're paving. But that's, and when time we did budget, these were the projects that looked like they were gonna carry forward. Guarantee the fire truck will, the police services will, the report writing will. Complex reserve is just something we've got in there if we need it.
But refresh my memory on that complex reserve. Isn't it the second or third contribution we made to that? Third.
This year will be the third.
It'll be a third,
Had it
so we
last
got what? Maybe
We used some part
400,000?
of it for something, so.
Less than a
we've got-
$500,000 in there?
Oh, well, it's been 150 every year, but
Yeah.
we used part of it for, that was approved. So we've got right now around 200,000 in that Parks Reserve. Is that about right, Gina? Is that-
Really? Okay. All right, thank you.
Now, we are on to utility, Mr. Cox. We are in section H. You've already asked the questions about the public services. That is just a duplicate. Public services admin is a duplicate of general fund admin, so it's just exactly the same information as far as the admin part of public services.
Questions, comments? Go ahead, Mr. Cox.
Yes, one note on utility fund maintenance pickup truck.
Right, we ain't here.
I thought we were there.
We were under personnel.
Oh.
Now we're moving. If nobody has any questions under personnel, we can
I'm
be under
sorry.
truck. Okay.
Okay, at 36.3, respectfully ask that such as if the building department was able to acquire a new F-150 4x4 for 25K, take a look at where that's coming from. Might,
oh, we do every year. If you notice, we
Competitive.
put a budget price in and then we find the state contract price or lowest price and end up usually the same exact thing that they pay for those same vehicles.
Any other comments, questions?
On to improvement requests for utility fund.
Something on my tab.
Stuff that needs to be fixed.
On your tab, I guess.
fourth page, third page.
You have your, and the ones that will actually come out, your first page is stuff that will actually come out of, the utility, billing fees. The second page, which is impact fees, comes out of your water and sewer impact fees. I will tell you, on your impact fee page, the $1,100 for the relocation of PJ Adams Utilities, 465,465, Gina, on the, refunding thing, 465.
Yes.
Okay,
And the
that
carry-
will not come out of impact fees, that is actually in that refunding that will carry forward into that. That's part of that that's the part that has to be done by January of next year. $1 million of it has to be done this year. 465 carries forward. It's a second
All right.
refunding.
But speaking of the utilities on PJM, Mr. Steele?
Yes.
In your budget, how much of utilities are we talking about this year's budget? Is that phase one and phase two? All the way, where's it gonna go to?
This is the total amount.
Total
Our-
amount,
Right.
all the way up to Highway 90?
No, not Highway 90. We don't have utilities in the, where there isn't a right of way yet. This
Oh,
is,
because we're
this
not
is,
going down the old Antioch, right?
right, this is utilities that has to be replaced or moved in that segment on PJ Adams from Highway 85 all the way to the interstate.
Or the I-10 interchange,
Right,
whatever we have there.
exactly.
Okay,
Yes, this isn't a number that we come up with. This number is actually based off of our staff and Atkins Engineering and HDR with the county. That's actually, they're doing the plans for us. Atkins is doing the city's portion of the utility relocate along with the county and HDR. And I don't know when that's actually going to begin. It's I've been in some meetings and discussions lately, and it's keeps getting pushed back. Of course, I have a meeting set up with HDR, Oakland County, and Atkins the first week in August to supposedly bring us up to date and tell us what and when will happen. From my understanding, the utilities can start being relocated, but there's other things that have to take place first before we can start, and they haven't given us a date or time, so that's something I'll have to bring back at a later.
yeah, I
Like,
understand. There's a mitigation problem with the wetlands.
Yeah.
That's the issue right now. Okay, Madam Clerk?
Anything else? Under the last one is carry forward, and that's, under utility carry forward. Those are projects that are underway this year, that are being were funded for this year. The amounts may change. If we spend it, the amounts of carry forward will reduce, but so will the cash carry forward to cover them. So it's a wash as far as money is concerned.
And Mr. President,
Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Steele.
that $353,000 will be before you at the next council meeting for you to approve we just bid that out. And just
Payment.
waiting,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Any comments, questions? You take questions on the overall, you want to deal with this at all
Yeah,
tonight?
I do. The overall budget request, if you look at your recap that was in there, the recap includes, there's two lines, there's two blue lines, and that's the only thing I dealt with, because everybody seemed to be interested in doing some sort of a 3% raise increase. 3% increase. The first blue line under general and utility is 3% on anniversary date. Okay, the second one is 1% at the beginning of the year and then 2% on anniversary date. So the only thing we really need is direction about which one that you guys prefer. It's on a little short page,
And you're talking about both funds, general and
general and
utility?
utility. This one, be careful, not the long one.
Which section is that in?
It should be at the beginning of your book. You have your,
Before you ever get to the,
this one, the latest one? Yeah.
That's what I was looking at. Oh, okay. It's the beginning of the book, I was going to look at the beginning of the
Okay,
book.
the beginning of the book, if you had updated your book, it's not at the beginning of the book. Okay, so that's what there's a $53,000 difference total city on the numbers of how that works. So it's just the discretion of the council. Do you want the 1 and 2, or do you want the 3% on anniversary date? Or if you want the 3% at the beginning of the year, which is not what we discussed.
Gentlemen, your feelings on that?
And basically, the thought behind the 1% is to make it not such a blow, and then start with the 2% this year, and then next year with the new evaluation system, we will go to flat to the 1, 2, or 3% based on your evaluation scores.
Well, I'll certainly comment. As you know, in the past, I've never supported automatic 3% raises when inflation is 1 or 1.1%. But I got to tell you, this year, every month this year, it's gone up 2.6, 2.7, 2.8. Inflation rate is right at 3%. And so this year, I'll support the across-the-board 3%. And I think we said last year that it would be easier on the budget to go 1 at the beginning of the fiscal year and 2 on the anniversary date. I kind of like that approach, rather than doing all 3 at the beginning or not doing anything at all, 1 and 2.
Said it's not a huge financial difference, but it does make a difference. We did find out today our just for the record, our insurance prices that are in your funding are correct. We found out from the Blue Cross Blue Shield that it is a 5% increase based on the negotiations from our brokers. Blue Cross originally gave them a 14%, and they took it down to 5%.
Ah, I like that.
But there'll be a slight savings because I did do a 5% increase in dental, life, and the 3 insurances that we pay. Those will be standardized, so they will not increase next year. That's not a whole lot amount of money, but it'll probably cover that 1%.
You're gonna have to explain this again. I think I think you attempted to last time, and I just didn't get it. But when you look at the difference between the 3% in your general fund, where you have expenses of 18,945, 536, and then you split it up in 1 and 2 instead of 3, you reduce your expenses to 18,938, 139, correct?
It's numbers of, we've had some changes in personnel, and I think I only changed the 1% and 3%, 2%. So we had some lose some people, and they'll be replaced with lesser paid
Well, but the bottom line is, the trend is, you should have a decrease in your expenses by splitting it 1 and 2 instead of going with 3. Is that not correct? Okay, so why, when you get down in the utility funds, when you look at your utility fund at 3%, you have 15,376,860, but when you split it, you go up 15,392,649. It seems to me that the 1-2 split should go down.
I think the
From
1-2
the
split
3
should actually go up. I'll have to look at the numbers. It's
Well,
not.
that's not true for the general fund.
I know it's not true for the general fund. I'm gonna have to double check
Well,
that.
that's confusing me. Why, all the numbers to the left, when you look at the revenues and projects forward and carry cash forward, all remain stable on the general fund, and it decreases going from the 3% to the split 1 and 2. When you look at the utility fund, all those things to the left remain the same, but it goes up when you go
Yeah,
to
I
1 to
think
2,
it
and
should go
it
up.
doesn't make sense to me.
It will go up, should go up $53,000. It shouldn't go down. I have to double check, and maybe it was a transposed number. But if 1% with a 2% on anniversary date is higher than a 3% on anniversary date. Should be. That may be.
No,
key.
wait a minute.
That should be.
You're telling me that
If
that
it's 3% at the beginning of the year, yes, it will be higher than
Right.
a 1 and a 2. But the 3% on the anniversary
date.
anniversary date, a 1% and then a 2% will be higher because you're gonna do one increase at the beginning of the year and then 2% later. It should be higher. That may be a key measure.
So then you're telling me the general fund is wrong.
General fund is wrong, yes.
Oh,
But it's
okay.
like 50, it's 53,000.
Somehow they
for
didn't
the-
jive. It should have
Yeah.
the same trend
Right.
in the general fund and
That's right.
utility fund. Okay.
Yeah, it's a
All right.
53,000 for the total city, so it's gonna be, if you're looking at probably a 970 something for general, so it's not gonna be that
All
much.
right, okay. I got it now. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Lots of numbers to look at. And I apologize for any, I should always start this like, I apologize for any key punch errors before we get started.
Gentlemen, any other comments, questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Cox.
Okay. Simply, I'm going to be generally supportive of the 3% on anniversary date. And I'm in agreement with Councilman Whitten on what he just was questioning. But 3% anniversary,
Not the one and then the two.
It wouldn't
I'd
actually-
rather not. It's not, yeah.
And we're not actually voting on it tonight. We're just kind
Yeah.
of getting a feel for where we're going to go. What do you say about that, Ms. Fairclough? Which two do you prefer?
Well, I may look at it a little differently. I'm looking forward to the evaluations. You know, because if you have an employee that's making, for the sake of figuring, 30,000, and he gets 3%, and then you've got an employee that's not working quite as hard, but he's making 50,000 and he gets 3%, where the 30,000 guy is busting his hump and $50,000 guy isn't, but yet the $50,000 guy gets more because 3% of 50 is more than 3% of 30.
Well, that's
So-
the whole purpose of having the evaluation system and getting started with the
Exactly.
anniversary date, but
Exactly.
that's not gonna happen
So
this year.
how difficult would it be to go with 1 + 2 and implement the evaluation?
Because they need to have one evaluation before you can say you're not gonna get a raise because you didn't pass your evaluation.
Okay.
You need a good, all the personnel experts I've talked to say, you need the first year, we're gonna set the goals. This is what you have to do next year to get a raise. And then the next year you get it.
Okay.
And hopefully, we hope, that if somebody is not performing, if they won't get to that anniversary date raise, that they won't be with the city anymore.
Are you done? Mr. Cox, go ahead.
Yes, just expound. Then, this would be the last budgetary year of across the board.
We would
Amount.
still have to,
So-
we would still have to budget the 3% on anniversary date, because that would be worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You can't just, say, well, we might get a raise, you might not. But you'd still have to budget it, but you won't have to, so it may not be full 3%. Somebody may get 2, somebody may get 3.
Got it.
And some of the guys, and Mr. Fairclough is coming from, some of it is because of tenure. If somebody's been here 15 years as a grass cutter, they're gonna make a whole lot more money than somebody who's been here a year as a grass cutter. While this one may work harder, this one's been here a long time to make it up to that great step. And we have in the last 2 years, brought pretty much everybody up above even the family property level. The family poverty level is 25,000. And we brought single people up past that.
Anything else? Okay, Madam Clerk. Thank
Do
you.
we need, the budget, preliminary hearing for the budget is September 6th, which is a Thursday night. I don't want to tie up another workshop with the budget. Do we want to have another budget workshop prior to this? Or do you want to actually just kind of have a short discussion on it at the next workshop? These are the changes and do a consensus to go to the September 6th.
Yeah, my concern is we're missing 2 councilmen tonight. Weren't involved in this workshop, so I think we need to have a discussion, not a full workshop, but a discussion before we take vote.
When we originally set up the workshops, we set one for August the 6th on our calendar. Do you want to go with an August the 6th workshop?
Is that a city council meeting night? Could we put it before the city council meeting night?
Except you're going to have a CRA meeting before the city council.
We can't put it before the city council meeting night. Without having 3 meetings.
No.
We had it projected anyways, potential, 6th of August.
I mean, if we do it at 5:30, it shouldn't be that long. I'll have all the numbers. It gives me a couple of weeks to get everything pulled together
All right,
with what the things are from tonight and see.
you agree to do that? Short
So the
workshop.
consensus is because I'm not gonna bring back
Workshop on the
6
6th.
numbers. I'm not gonna bring back 6 numbers. The consensus of the 3 of you, at least 2/3 of you, is 1% and then 2% on anniversary date, correct? I'm not gonna bring 6 numbers if that's where y'all wanna go. I mean, I have them in the back.
I think you need to bring the 3%. Because you got
Oh.
2 missing council
Okay.
people.
Well, I have had discussions with them.
Okay. Thank you. Before I open it up to the public, do you have any department head issues you want to discuss with us over here? Anybody? Wayne, got anything for us?
Okay.
Besides the grand opening of the, you got to talk about the dog park.
Well, I appreciate everyone being there and supporting it. Yes, we finally had a groundbreaking for the dog park today at 3 p.m. and it went well. I think a lot of people are excited from the turnout we had from the public. I think the public is excited for that. So we're glad to get started. And I had a lot of people ask me when and how long it's going to take. Well, if everything goes according to plans, we could probably do this project in 2 to 3 months. And probably even quicker than that if there was not people donating their time, money, and materials. But it's still our objective to allow those people to help, to keep the costs down. Because right now, all of the funding is coming from donations. Nothing is coming from the city. There will be some city labor involved in some of the efforts being made. But other than that, it's, our whole focus is to make it all volunteer type donations and work, labor, and materials. Other than that, I know a lot of you have received complaints or phone calls, such as I have, and the mayor and the clerk, about the new raised concrete median at West Redstone. They will welcome to my world, and there's going to be a lot more of those. We had them at the Tom Thumb at P.J. Adams and Highway 85, and the one at 90 and Nanningup Road. You're about to see one at John King Road and Highway 85. These types of things, they're necessary. DOT is requesting them. Is to keep people who turn off of Highway 85 onto city side streets. They'll stop trying to get into a business. And what that does, it backs up traffic onto Highway 85. And even, they can still go shopping. That's not a problem. And we're making sure of that. We would never block a driveway entrance to a business. We would never do that. All of these businesses have another driveway entrance, the ones that we have changed. So tomorrow you'll see they'll be repaving that, the final layer of asphalt, and then there'll be some striping put down, but the permanent thermoplasty, and we'll be putting in delineators on top of the flexible ones, on top of the concrete median, and some signage to help with that. If you get complaints and still getting phone calls, forward those to me. I'll take care of them. And we're moving along real good on the environmental center. We, the slab is done. It's ready. We have to wait a few days. So just so happened the contractor of the building was out of town for a week, so he'll be in next week starting on that. And hopefully we'll get some of these things finished and to bring you up to date on the new dispatch center. Couldn't think of the name of it. As I talked to the engineer today, the plans are supposed to be submitted to me for review next week. So there you go. That's the latest and greatest updates to the 3 main projects that's going on right now. And there's a lot more to come, I'm sure.
Thank you. Deputy Chief, what you got for us? All right. Chief,
No, sir.
Ms. Gaylord. Ms. Mary, you got anything?
Just one question for Mr. Steele. What's the probable start date for paving and striping Main Street? I know it's after the courthouse, but how quickly after the courthouse?
We have that in the bid. I can't remember what our start date is. It's in September. When I met with Jason Autry, they're going to do a soft opening, but on the courthouse, and their plan is to have a soft opening on October 1. Well, we want to have the street paved by then, and that's the way we've done the bid when we the bid advertisement. When we submitted the bid advertisement, we wanted them. You'll see that on your next council meeting too, and we want them to start in September, and we're going to start on that end. So if they're not completely done with the project, at least by October 1, they'll be out of the area of the new courthouse and on down towards the railroad tracks. It's going to MLK, and that's our plan. We're also milling in this bid, and I don't know the exact date, but the milling is going to take it down in the travel lanes because that asphalt's 18 inches thick. So we're going to mill out a good, 3 to 4 inches of it at least, maybe more in some places. So it's you think Highway 90's a mess, just wait to what's going to happen there. But we're hoping it'll go quick, and we hope we can, and we're going to try to do a lot of the work at night. And so we're not interrupting businesses, but it has to be done. But when it's all finished, it all look brand new. The striping will be redone for all the parking and everything.
You got anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Ms. Teresa, what's the status of maypoles between Burger King and First Baptist Church?
Is it LPA? On the 31st.
The LPA. So they are the ultimate approval?
They are our planning and zoning board.
Well, I know what
So
they
they
are,
have
but are
to-
they the ultimate approval or disapproval of the project?
Well, once we have their submittal, the gentleman that was presenting, Mr. Southberg, he had to be away at a funeral, so he didn't get, he wasn't there at our last one. So we continued it all over and held a special LPA so that he could participate.
Thank you.
Mr. Cox, anything else?
Yes, two things. At this time, I don't plan on attending the Florida League of Cities conference this year.
Okay.
Other things. And along with that, the scheduled Okaloosa Walton TPO meeting that I thought was going to be rescheduled. They miscued on that, and they intend to have that meeting, and I'll be present there August the 16th. That's at Shalimar. Other item is relative to PJ Adams, just real briefly. On July the 10th, the Board of County Commissioners did a couple of changes but didn't announce a revised timeline, but it seems assuredly that they're not going to meet the last publicly posted timeline of construction starting in before the end of this year. That was item number 26 at the July 10th meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Cox, if I could just comment on the TPO meeting. I sent an email to the OWTPO, and I adamantly opposed keeping that meeting the way it was. I said, we've asked for an update from either the county, HDR, DOT, on PJ Adams, and that all three of us would be absent. And I thought that they should reschedule a meeting. Now, do I believe they're gonna do it? I don't know, but I just want you to know that I told them that I think they should do that, because who's interested in that presentation? People from Crestview, along with our county commissioners. So I oppose them keeping the meeting the way it is, and we'll just have to wait to see what they're gonna do. Go ahead.
If they don't, I'll be fully prepared to discuss that item.
Represent us well, okay, good. Mr. Hall, you have anything for us? Madam Clerk, you have anything else for us?
I'm done.
All right. Anybody from the public like to address the city council at this time? Anybody from the public? Going once, going twice? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.